This is the first time I visited such an unscary haunted house. The props are too fake, I didn't feel scared. If anything, it all felt like a joke to me. Materialists like ourselves naturally have nothing to be afraid of. Ghosts aren't real. I hate to say it, but I told you so. We should have stayed at the hostel, I was so close to gaining another level on my online game. A group of students grumbled with disappointment in front of Western Jiujiang City's horror house before they left on their motorbikes. Chen Ji, who held a stack of advertisement flyers for the haunted house, shook his head despondently when he saw this. The art of scaring was a skill, but with the introduction of scary movies, many modern-day citizens' threshold for scares had been increased. A visit to the haunted house was no different from a stroll in one's own backyard. Boss. A clear female voice erupted from behind him. Chen Ji turned around and saw a slender zombie in a nurse outfit running out of the haunted house in a fit of anger. What's wrong, Xiao Wan? The zombie's name was Shu Wan, she was one of the temporary actors hired by the haunted house. Those few ruffians earlier, they tried to take advantage of me. The girl hissed through gritted teeth, her fists gripped tight. So, it is merely to complain. That's horrible, they wouldn't even leave a zombie in peace. As the boss, naturally Chen Ji was on Xiao Wan's side. Later, I'll have the amusement park manager to pull up the surveillance footage. There's no need for that. When I realized their intentions, my punch went flying straight at the boy's face. Shu Wan pointed at the blood stain at the edge of her outfit and exclaimed rather proudly, "See, this isn't fake blood." Good, good, a girl should learn how to protect herself. Chen Ji wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. As he turned to look at the setting sun, he said, I suppose it's time to call it a day. We probably won't have any more visitors, so help me go and tell everyone that we can get off work early today. However, he realized the girl in zombie makeup didn't make an attempt to move away. Is there anything else? Boss, Shu Wan hesitated before pulling 2 letters out from her pocket slowly. These are the resignation letters from Tao Ming and Xiao Wei. You've been a great boss to them, so they didn't have the face to give these to you in person and had me pass them to you. They're quitting. Chen Ji asked the obvious question as he accepted the letters, then he added, everyone has their own dream to chase, so be it. Xiao Wan, you can leave now if there's nothing else? Okay, I'll go remove the makeup first. After the cute little zombie left, Chen Ji lit a cigarette silently. Half a year ago, when his parents mysteriously disappeared, the only thing they left him was this haunted house. To keep their memory alive, Chen Ji had resigned from his day job to focus on managing this haunted house. Alas, times were changing. Despite the niche genre, there was huge competition among haunted houses, and there were plenty of limitations as well. A scary scenario would lose its scare factor after the initial experience, but a constant update would require plenty of resources and money. Starting from a few weeks ago, the haunted house had been in the red, the income from the daily ticket sales barely covered the electricity and water expenses. I wonder how long I can hold on. After extinguishing the cigarette, when Chen Ji was prepared to return to the haunted house, a middle-aged man wearing the uniform for New Century Park walked toward him. When he saw him, Chen Ji increased his pace like a mouse spotting a cat. You think you can pretend to have not seen me? The middle-aged man clamped his hands on Chen Ji's shoulders. Today, we definitely need to talk it out. You've owed the rent and utilities for 2 months already. The top brass are breathing down my neck to pursue it, so pay up. Uncle Shu, it's not that I don't want to pay you, but I really have nothing to pay you with. Can you please give me another month? That's what you told me last month. I promise, this is definitely the last time. Chen Ji patted his chest as he promised with sincerity. People have already moved on from haunted houses. Listen to me, it's no use being this stubborn. When the middle-aged man named Uncle Shu saw the letters in Chen Ji's hand, the force on Chen Ji's shoulders gradually lightened. You're so young, you can still begin anew with a different career, so why are you doing this to yourself? Uncle Shu, I know you're just looking out for me, but this haunted house carries a different meaning for me. I guess I'm still unwilling to let the last memory of my parents go, Chen Ji uttered in a lowered voice as if he was afraid that other people might hear him. As the amusement park manager, the middle-aged man knew about the disappearance of Chen Ji's parents. He didn't answer immediately. After a few seconds, he sighed and said, Fine, I can understand how you feel. I'll try my best to talk to management for you and see if they can give you a few more weeks. Thank you, Uncle Shu. Don't thank me so soon, you'd better make sure you can increase the ticket sales or the ending will just be the same. After sending the amusement park manager off, Chen Ji returned to the haunted house and started his daily routine of checking the equipment, maintaining the items, and cleaning. The fake blood in the maintenance room is almost empty. I have to buy a new batch. If this corridor could be made slightly more slanted to the side, it'll create a better blind spot to scare the visitors. Oh no, this puppet is broken already. I'll have to repair it later. FCK. What happened to the light bulb I installed here last week? Who has stolen it? In the eyes of an outsider, he was the owner of a haunted house, a young entrepreneur in a way, but only Chen Ji himself could understand the difficulty behind maintaining a haunted house. Haunted houses were a kind of entertainment. Caught within a scary environment, one's physical and mental situation would be maintained at a heightened state, but when the stress was released, it would lead to a sense of relief and satisfaction. It was not unlike a massage in a way. At the same time, most haunted houses were one-trick ponies. The most effective business method for a haunted house was to have it be mobile so that it would constantly attract fresh batches of visitors. A haunted house that was stuck at a certain location like Chen Ji's had to have immense popularity to lure in the crowds, or else they wouldn't be able to survive for long. The fact that he had managed to hold on for so long was already, in a way, a miracle. Dragging the puppet that was ruined, Chen Ji entered the maintenance room. He had studied toy design in college, and the machinery and traps used in the haunted house had been all personally designed and built by him. The maintenance process, which included sewing and repainting, was dry and repetitive. Still missing some fake blood. If I remember correctly, there's still some stock in the attic. The haunted house was separated into 3 floors. The first and second floors were for haunted scenarios while the third was a storeroom. After pushing open the wooden door, behind the haze of wood chips and dust, there were various kinds of materials and unwanted ingredients left behind by Chen Ji's parents from when they had managed the haunted house. Unwilling to face the past, Chen Ji rarely came up to this place. Now that I think about it, it has almost been half a year already. Looking at the various equipment, Chen Ji was reminded of his childhood. At the time, his family had managed a mobile haunted house, so he had gotten the chance to travel the country with his parents. When the 2 adults were busy, they would leave Chen Ji alone backstage to accompany the various ghosts, so Chen Ji's unnatural guts had been trained since he was young. After all, when his friends of the same age were playing with blocks and puzzles, he was running around with a fake human head. These are all precious memories. Chen Ji wandered aimlessly before finding himself back at the wooden box that kept the few things that remained of his parents. Inside sat a black cell phone and a rough-looking doll. The doll was the first toy Chen Ji made when he was a child, but he had zero recollection of the phone. Both of these items had been found in an abandoned hospital in the countryside, and regarding why Chen Ji's parents would go there in the middle of the night, even the police couldn't give him an answer. "Where are the 2 of you?" Chen Ji picked up the doll and pinched its chubby face. Then, with a sigh, he told himself, "I'd better go find that fake blood. If I cannot survive this off-season, I really will have to bid this haunted house farewell." Chen Ji was talking to himself, but when he said so, the black phone, which had been silent in the box, suddenly lit up with a dim, cold light. What's going on? Dark technology or supernatural phenomenon? If this happened to someone else, that person probably would have raced out screaming bloody murder already, but in comparison, Chen Ji's reaction was much calmer. He picked up the phone and inspected it closer. This is weird. I've tried opening this phone more than 100 times before, but it wouldn't work. So why did it open by itself today? This phone was found where my parents disappeared, so could it be that they know I'm in trouble and are contacting me to help? Chen Ji swiped the phone open, and on the front page with a black background, there was only one available app. It had the shape of a haunted house as an icon. Wait, this looks so familiar, just like the front entrance of my own haunted house. With a frown, Chen Ji clicked the app open, and a row of letters written in what appeared to be blood appeared on screen. Do you believe there are ghosts in this world? Objectively speaking, this was a metaphysical philosophical question. For an engineering student like Chen Ji, it was practically unanswerable. There should be, Chen Ji mumbled to himself, and a few seconds later, a new sentence appeared on screen. What you believe is the answer. From this moment on, you will officially take over as the new owner of the haunted house. Of course, this is not something worth celebrating. Before the end of the tutorials, please heed my last advice: suicide is the most cowardice of behavior and try your best to survive. What and what? But this pompous way of speech does resemble that father of mine. Chen Ji clicked on the app again, and a new window appeared. Underscore 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 underscore. Western Jiuzhang Haunted House. Status, almost closing. Good reputation, 0. Daily visitor number, 4. Monthly visitor number, 10. My team of ghosts and ghouls, none. My item storage, none. Unlocked achievement, none. Current available scenario set pieces. Night of the Living Dead, horrible prop, untrained actors, the plot has no readable storyline or logic. Scream factor, 0 star. Mingun netherworld marriage couple torn apart in the living world, bound together forever in the netherworld, sharing the same grave, pursuing happiness and death. Scream factor, 0.5 stars. Unlockable scenarios. Murder by midnight, a dangerous psychotic patient wandered about a fallen apartment. Scissors and mallets as hands, he is just wandering outside of your room. Scream factor, 1 star. The third sick hall, there are unexplainable noises coming out from this abandoned hospital building every night. As a newspaper reporter, you're tasked with getting to the bottom of this dark mystery. Scream factor, 3 stars. The haunted hearse, leaving with the hearse carrying the coffin, if you cannot escape within an hour, you'll stay forever inside the hearse. Scream factor, 2 stars. Daily mission, complete daily missions provided by the haunted house to unlock more scary scenarios. The rewards correspond to the difficulty of the mission. 1. Haunted house expansion conditions, monthly visitor numbers over 100. Good reputation over 60%. After 3 expansions, the haunted house will upgrade to the Shivering Maze. 2. Haunted Wheel of Misfortune, expend fright points generated by visitors of the haunted house to spin the wheel. The decree of life and death is never the decision of man, fortune and misfortune are only an inch apart. We have both spirit fruits to increase your lifespan as well as hatred-filled baleful specters. Other functions, yet to be unlocked. The app with the haunted house icon looks similar to many popular management mobile games, however, instead of managing a hotel, aquarium, or pet store, it was to manage a haunted house. Chen Ji stared at the screen, and a single question was on his mind. Why would the phone left behind by my parents have this curious app on it? He looked through the interface of the app, and all the information on it matched the conditions of his actual haunted house, like the daily visitor numbers and available scenarios. This gave Chen Ji a weird sensation, as if the haunted house managed in-game was no different from the one he was managing in real life. They were both down on their luck and facing closure, there were simply too many similarities between them. Could it be that this game is built using my haunted house as its basis? Then does this mean that if there are changes in the game, it'll also happen in real life? Chen Ji muttered. Chen Ji continued to read. The current scenario of the haunted house, Night of the Living Dead, was brutally criticized. Even the Mingun scenario that got onto the papers before only managed to get a 0.5 star rating. If Mingun only gets 0.5 star, I shudder to imagine how scary those unlockable scenarios are. He tried to click on the options, and when he did, a window appeared on screen, telling him that he needed to finish a certain number of daily missions before he would be able to unlock the scenarios. Looks like the daily missions are the key to this. It is only by completing daily missions that I'll be able to unlock the haunted scenarios. By unlocking more scenarios, I'll be able to attract more customers and, consequently, expand the haunted house. Chen Ji was an avid player of mobile games, so he soon grasped the rules of the game. The rate of completion for daily missions was going to influence the development of the haunted house. After clicking on daily missions, 3 options surfaced. Easy mission, there are 3 main elements to the design of a good haunted house: story, scenario, and mood. A haunted house without a story is a haunted house without a soul. Please complete the background story to the 2 scenarios, Night of the Living Dead and Mingun. Normal mission, fix all the mannequins inside the haunted house before midnight. Nightmare mission, I know you're still not wholly convinced about the existence of ghosts in the world. In that case, how about a little game? The truth will be revealed when you open your eyes. Daily missions will refresh every day at midnight. User can only apply for 1 mission each day, and the reward corresponds to the difficulty of the mission. Beware. The more difficult the mission, the more dangerous it'll be, so please choose carefully. After looking through the mission details, Chen Ji gasped with surprise. The missions in the game have to be completed in real life. Isn't this the perfect proof that this game can influence real life? To test this speculation, he decided to pick a mission. Since the reward was given according to difficulty and he could only pick 1 each day, for the sake of the biggest reward, he had to pick the most difficult mission. However, the warning attached to the end of the missions did make Chen Ji worry. This is hard to choose. The description for the nightmare mission is so vague, it just speaks of a trap. Why don't I start with a normal mission? Fixing all the props will be difficult, but not impossible. Chen Ji was a man of action. After he had made the decision, he started to move. He grabbed his toolbox and a bucket of unopened fake blood and started to inspect all the mannequins around the haunted house. Night had fallen. To save electricity, Chen Ji didn't even leave the lights in the corridors open. Squeezing a flashlight in his armpit, Chen Ji twisted through the large haunted house, fixing all the mannequins that needed his attention. If there were any outsiders who saw this, they would probably be so spooked that they would call the cops directly. I really didn't expect so many mannequins will require maintenance. I should not have slacked off earlier. At 11:45 p.m., Chen Ji received the mission completion alert on his phone. You've completed the normal mission. Paying attention to details will contribute to the perfect scary atmosphere. Congratulations, you've gained the mission reward, background music, Black Friday. Wait, wasn't Black Friday a banned song in foreign countries? According to rumors, it has the uncanny ability to instill suicidal tendencies in its listeners, and the original score was lost a long time ago. Chen Ji discovered the picture of a CD in his item storage. What kind of mission reward is this? Don't tell me this is all some kind of prank. He clicked on the CD image, and a melody that he had not heard of started playing beside his ears. The melody spoke of darkness, melancholy, and loneliness. Chen Ji felt the world around him falling away, and he had landed himself in a long corridor with no end in sight. When the song ended, Chen Ji's back was drenched in cold sweat. He was thankful he didn't choose to have the song on repeat, or else he really didn't think he would have been able to escape the influence of the music on his own. FCK, this is real. This should be the original track. After completing the game mission, he really did acquire a reward that he could use in real life. This gave Chen Ji a ray of hope. He stopped the music and saved it carefully. After dealing with everything, Chen Ji returned to the break room to rest. Lying in bed, even though he was tired, he didn't feel at all sleepy. After all, the things that he had experienced that day required a bit of time to digest. Without knowing it, it soon passed midnight, and Chen Ji was still staring aimlessly at the ceiling. Can't sleep at all? The man who was bored out of his mind pulled out the black phone. Midnight has passed, so there should be a new set of daily missions, right? He opened the app, and as he expected, there were some changes on the daily missions screen. Easy mission: if you want to provide the visitors a scary experience, then first you have to pay notice to the rhythm and tempo of their experience in the haunted house. Setting off the scare too early might cause the visitors to lose their interest, so I suggest you install some sound detectors or surveillance cameras in the haunted house to keep track of your visitors' progress. Normal mission: a single hand cannot clap. A good haunted house requires a good team to run it. Recruit more talents to aid in your journey. Nightmare mission: I know you're still not wholly convinced about the existence of ghosts in the world. In that case, how about a little game? The truth will be revealed when you open your eyes. Daily missions will refresh every day at midnight. User can only apply for one mission each day, and the reward corresponds to the difficulty of the mission. Beware. The more difficult the mission, the more dangerous it'll be, so please choose carefully. The 3 new daily missions put some kinks in Chen Ji's plan. The easy mission was to install new surveillance devices in the haunted house. This could be done with money, but the issue was, Chen Ji's budget was currently limited. The normal mission also wasn't that easy for Chen Ji. His 2 senior workers, who had been through thick and thin with him, had just resigned. Even if he went to set up a recruitment ad right this moment, it would require days to complete the training. When the new employee could help at the haunted house, the place probably would have closed already. Since the easy mission and normal mission were impossible, Chen Ji's eyes settled on the last daily mission. Since the harder the mission, the better the reward, shall I give this nightmare mission a try? I know you're still not wholly convinced about the existence of ghosts in the world. In that case, how about a little game? The truth will be revealed when you open your eyes. As mentioned earlier, the description of the nightmare mission was incredibly vague. It did, however, give off a creepy vibe. Looking at the introduction, it should involve some kind of game, but how can playing a game be a nightmare mission? To finish the normal mission, Chen Ji had worked non-stop for several hours. He had barely managed to finish fixing all the mannequins. As he toyed with the phone, Chen Ji's sense of curiosity was aroused. Shall I try it out? The moment the thought appeared, it grew and expanded like vines, invading every corner of his mind. Nightmare missions give the best reward, and since I can't accomplish the easy and normal missions provided today, this is my best bet. The haunted house would close if he was unable to survive this off-season. Chen Ji knew how precarious his situation was. It was a pure stroke of luck that he had stumbled upon this ray of hope, so of course, he wouldn't let any opportunities pass by easily. So be it. After all, eventually, I'll have to apply for a nightmare mission, so why not now? Sitting up in bed, Chen Ji clicked on the last mission. Are you sure you wish to accept the nightmare mission? After acceptance, unknown circumstances might occur. Yes. The phone flashed, and the real mission details surfaced. It requires plenty of courage, incredible luck, and a bit of help to see the hidden world. The game we're playing is called Another You in the Mirror. Enter the bathroom alone at 2:04 a.m., close the door and turn off the lights. Face the mirror and light a candle between yourself and it. Then, close your eyes and focus. You can then begin by slowly chanting your name. Anything can happen in the dark. Perhaps there will be an unfamiliar face that appears in the mirror, or there might be a pair of eyes lurking in the corner watching you, or blood might drip from the ceiling or walls. No matter what happens, all you must do is make sure that you stay silent and stand before the mirror quietly. After half an hour, the mission will be auto-completed, provided that you do not open your eyes no matter what happens in that half hour. After reading the mission introduction, Chenji's heart twinged with fear. Could there really be a world hidden from normal eyes? It was still some time before the allocated 2:04 a.m. Instead of moving to the bathroom, Chenji started doing his research online. Chenji did manage to find some extra information on this supposed game, and they were all ghost stories. Some said they were cursed after they played this game, while others mentioned missing friends or family members, convinced that they were pulled into the mirror world. Every single one of these sounds so authentic. The more he read, the more interested Chenji became. He was, after all, the operator of a haunted house. His daily exercise was to come up with new ways to scare people, within a safe environment of course. As he read up on the information to this game, he felt as if a new world was opening before his eyes. It's weirdly exciting to play a scary game in the middle of the night inside a haunted house. He checked the battery level of his phone. He felt like recording this momentous occasion. Later, I'll put the whole thing on recording. If it is as scary as these people say, then perhaps I can add a new scenario to the haunted house. He scoured the room for a candle and lighter. When the clock struck 2 a.m., he carried the prepared objects and moved toward the bathroom on the first floor of the haunted house. The reason he carried out this game at the first floor's toilet was also a calculated decision on Chenji's part. If anything dangerous did occur during the process, at least he could jump directly out the window to save himself. The haunted house was eerily quiet at night. A young man who refused to turn on the lights to save electricity entered the cramped and narrow toilet with a flashlight and candle. A dark and claustrophobic environment is the best at evoking the feeling of fear within a person's heart. The toilet is usually the place that has the most yin energy within the building. Mirrors and cisterns, these items couldn't have been more mundane, but these everyday items can often be used to increase psychological pressure. The person behind this game is very clever. They know how to make use of the weakness often found within the human heart, and consequently, they are able to create a scary atmosphere with the simplest of objects and conditions. Chenji found this a perfect opportunity to improve his craft. Real terror actually doesn't need expensive setups. It only needs to highlight and heighten the sense of anxiety inherent in the human heart. Chenji took a deep breath and put his phone on record. I don't know what kind of effect this game will bring, but if anything happens to me, I hope the person who finds this phone will preserve this video because it is a valuable key to unlocking the many layers of deceit. Then, Chenji placed the phone beside the cistern. He adjusted the angle until the camera could capture his person and the mirror opposite him. It's 2:01 a.m. already, 3 more minutes. The wait for death was scarier than death itself. The silence of the toilet amplified all sorts of noises or echoes in the room. As the seconds ticked by, Chenji's heart started to race. He looked at the time on the phone. When the minute hand pointed at the 4, he switched off the flashlight and lit up the candle. Following the instructions, he placed it between the mirror and himself. The dancing flame became the only source of light in the dark. It flickered and twirled between the real world and the mirrored world. It acted perhaps like some kind of guidance light, pointing the way for whatever existed in the mirror. Chenji looked at his reflection in the mirror, and he felt strangely weirded out. Has the game started? He lowered his head and closed his eyes before starting to mumble his name softly. Chenji, Chenji, Chenji. Repetition of one's name would put a psychological distance between it and oneself. Eventually, even one's name would sound strange to one's ears. This theory was similar to how after looking at a particular Chinese character repeatedly, one would end up forgetting how to write it when asked. To prevent that psychological effect from befalling himself, every time Chenji chanted his name, he would leave a 3-second space. This way, he was also counting down the time. After all, the condition for a successful mission was to keep his eyes closed for half an hour no matter the distraction. Standing in front of a mirror and playing a game that involves only a candle at 2 a.m. inside a haunted house alone, if I was not doing this myself, even I wouldn't believe someone would willingly do something this dumb. Chen Ji continued to chant his name as the various random thoughts entered his mind. This game is filled with psychological terror. The most difficult part is not facing those supposed ghosts or legends but stopping your mind from straying and forming scary scenarios to scare yourself. As long as you don't open your eyes, everything should be fine. However, that was easier said than done because 10 minutes after the game started, something did happen. It seemed that the toilet's windows were not closed because Chen Ji could feel a cold draft enter the room. It was like an invisible hand was brushing past his face. The door of the toilet cubicles creaked as they were moved by the wind. The water that had gathered at the corner of the ceiling fell onto the floor, causing the insects to scatter. The sound made Chen Ji feel like they were crawling all over his skin. All sorts of noises were amplified by the general silence, which would have heightened the sense of anxiety in most people, but not Chen Ji, who had been trained to have a strong heart since he was young and had a slightly slower than normal sense of perception. He cleared his mind of thought to focus on counting down the time. About 20 minutes had passed, and for some reason, Chen Ji could sense the temperature of the room dropping like someone had placed several blocks of solid ice around him, causing him to shiver involuntarily. Calm yourself. Don't overthink it and scare yourself. There's only 10 minutes left, Chen Ji, you can do this. There was a curious draft flowing beside his ear like something was circling him. He gripped his hands so tightly that the veins on their backs were protruding, but his body seemed to have petrified into a mobile stone. Chen Ji, Chen Ji, Chen Ji. He continued to mumble to himself. At only 5 minutes left, Chen Ji could tell the flickering light of the candle had died off, and there seemed to be another presence in the dark calling his name. Echo. Impossible. Chen Ji, the voice seemed to be summoning him, and it felt urgent like it had something crucial to tell him. The voice seems to be coming from outside the door. Shall I go to take a look? However, very soon, Chen Ji rejected this thought from his mind. The rules were explicit. He was required to stand before the mirror and not do anything else. He continued the countdown in his heart, and the voice beside his ear started to warp. He was now certain that there was someone else calling his name, and that person was standing outside the toilet door. The person sounds so urgent, but I'm the one playing this game, so why do they sound so damn hurried? This is obvious a trap, such a cheater. Chen Ji turned his lips down with disapproval. The setup and atmosphere are not bad, but alas, the scare tactic is too straightforward and simple. During the final 3 minutes, there was a shrill noise coming from the toilet door like someone was scratching their nails against it or gnawing their teeth on it. The door creaked subtly like it was about to open at any moment. 1,798 seconds, 1,799 seconds, 1,800 seconds. The half-an-hour limit was up, all the noises disappeared at once, and silence reigned once more. To prevent miscalculation, Chen Ji did not open his eyes immediately. He counted for an extra 300 before he took a step back, placed both his hands over his chest, and fluttered his eyes open. The candle in the toilet had been extinguished, and the place was dark. For some reason, Chen Ji felt like something had shifted. He turned on the flashlight, and when light appeared once more in the cramped area, he was stunned. The mirror before him was filled with cracks, and several images of himself stared back at him. It looked extremely hallucinogenic, but the thing that gave him a bigger scare was the appearance of a broken doll in front of the mirror. The eyes that were made from buttons were shining, and the patchwork body was filled with cotton. The doll was not by any means new, but it held a special meaning for Chen Ji. It was his very first creation and something left at the scene of his parents' disappearance. The doll was leaning against the mirror like it was trying to stop the thing in the mirror from coming out. Wait, but the toilet door was already locked. How did you come in? Through the window. No wait, the bigger issue is how you moved on your own. Chen Ji felt like his world was falling apart. He needed some time to process the situation. The man and the doll were locked in this stare for about 3 minutes before Chen Ji felt more like himself again. He moved his cold fingers and slowly moved toward the doll. For some reason, it felt like the button eyes of the doll seemed to be following him. Chen Ji's lips twitched involuntarily as he looked at this doll of his. He gave the doll a wide berth to pick the phone next to it. Thankfully, I was clever enough to prepare for this. The phone had finished recording. Chen Ji made a second copy before starting to look through the video. The video quality was not that great. The single candle fire danced in the darkness, and while the Chen Ji in front of the mirror looked rather cautious, the Chen Ji in the mirror seemed weirdly at ease. The first 10 minutes were fine, but things started to turn weird at the 11-minute mark. The sound of the wind wasn't captured by the phone, but one could see the cubicle door moving in the video. Then the video was interrupted by white noise. It was a video that was at most a bit curious, but for some reason, it was weirdly scary. Perhaps this was humanity's inherent fear of darkness and the unknown. As the video continued to play, Chen Ji's face turned increasingly pale. He remembered clearly that he had not moved when his eyes were closed, but on the video, he saw his body slowly leaning forward like he was trying to lean into the mirror. At the 25-minute mark, his upper body was already at a 70-degree angle, and the tip of his nose almost touching the surface of the mirror. Several seconds later, without any warning, spidery cracks started to form on the mirror. It caused even Chen Ji's heart to skip a beat. Then, the most unbelievable thing happened. The Chen Ji in the mirror's expression changed. He grinned wickedly as he slammed crazily against the mirror. Right at that minute, the candle went out and the video ended. Due to the camera angle, the video did not show any scene relating to the doll, and Chen Ji himself had no idea what really went down in that last 5 minutes. From the looks of things, the thing in the mirror wanted to get out, but it was stopped by this doll. In that case, the doll saved me. Chen Ji picked the doll up from the counter and asked in a serious tone, "Can you understand me? Do you know what happened to my parents?" Naturally, the doll did not answer, but its button eyes seemed to glow in the dark. He cradled the doll in his arms and turned to look at the toilet door. Afraid of going out, he shrunk underneath one of the windows and pulled out his phone. The mission success message was waiting for him. "It has to be said that you're incredibly lucky. Congratulations for completing the nightmare mission. Obtained mission reward, elementary skill, Mortician's Makeup. Mortician's Makeup, I hope you will treat this talent with the respect it deserves. Unlike beauty makeup, a mortician only deals with the makeup of the dead. Your hands breathe life into death visages, bringing them everlasting beauty. First nightmare mission completed, unlocked the title, Newcomer at Nightmare Town. Obtained additional reward, unlocked the trial mission for the 1-star scenario, Murder by Midnight. Completion of this trial mission will add this scenario to your haunted house." Looking at the messages on screen, Chen Ji thought to himself, the success of a haunted house had plenty to do with a good makeup artist. Be it actors or props, they needed a makeup artist to make them come to life. A good makeup artist can easily create authentic effect to add to the overall scare factor. Skill and talent. Looks like the reward for Nightmare Mission is different in the sense that the reward is directly beneficial to myself. Making a mental note of this important point, Chen Ji's heart burned with anticipation. He had seen the existence of the other world, the world of terror, fear, darkness, and danger. Perhaps that world was where his parents had gone, but based on his current power, keeping himself safe was a big enough issue, let alone looking for them. Thankfully, with the black phone by his side, there was still a chance. In any case, that is still quite far in the future. The thing I need to focus on is to stabilize the haunted house business and survive this imminent financial crisis. He pulled out his phone. That was close, something disastrous could have happened. This shows that nightmare missions aren't so easily completed. Then again, there's no reason for me to go about this alone. In an information age like ours, help can be reached at the tip of one's fingers. He logged into a few famous national supernatural forums and uploaded the original video. A few seconds later, his video was dubbed, "Who is that in the mirror?" It was rapidly viewed and shared. Perhaps people were so bored of the usual host of gossip and news that they wanted to switch it up. The popularity of the video shot up like an arrow. Every time Chen Ji refreshed the page, there would be at least 10 new comments. 2514. You all can thank me later. Has the uploader lost his mind? Who would do something like this in the middle of the night? Why did the cracks appear on the mirror on their own? Also, what was that thing that knocked into the mirror near the end there? The cracks are mostly caused by temperature manipulation inside the room. No, you guys are all wrong. In Taoism, mirrors are items of pure yin energy. I suggest the video's title be changed from "Who is that in the mirror?" to "The Ghost in the Mirror." Jesus Christ, who dares do something this crazy so late at night? I'm impressed by the uploader's bravery. This video has definitely been tampered with. If not, take down my ID, I'll stand on my hand and eat shit. Am I the only one who noticed this? The profile of the uploader is the owner of a haunted house in western Jiujiang. Don't get all wrapped up over this is nothing more than a fabricated advertisement. Chen Ji's inbox instantly filled with private messages. Some came with questions, others with suspicion, but Chen Ji ignored them all. He knew his video was real, he didn't think he owed any of these people any explanation. Those in the know would realize its authenticity, and as for those who just wanted to undermine him, why should he waste his time on them? Looking at the video's meteoric rise in popularity, Chen Ji realized with a start that this was actually not a bad opportunity. He spliced the original video, only taking the last 14 seconds, and uploaded it to the nation's biggest video sharing app. Amid the videos that showcased food, dances, or singing, his haunted video was definitely one of a kind. In just less than 10 seconds, people had started to fall for his trap. Unlike the users on supernatural forums who went searching for stuff like this, these random users started leaving inflammatory comments under the video from being scared for no reason. Sadly, on the internet, conflict and controversy bring in more viewers than praise does, so the wave of online censure only brought in more viewers. Scrolling through the comments, Chen Ji could practically sense the hatred and anger directed his way. He shrugged it off with a laugh. To be fair, he did understand why these people reacted the way they did. Most of them were probably preparing for bed, all wrapped up in their blankets, and were probably just looking through some light-hearted videos in preparation to settle down for the night. This scary video of a man wreathed in candlelight had the complete opposite effect than what they were hoping for. The best feature of the video was that it was only 14 seconds, so before they realized what was happening, the scare had already happened. The mirror shattered, and the thing appeared like it was trying to rush out of the mirror and then through the phone screen itself. This was truly a masterful setup. Based on how lively the comment section is, the popularity of this video looks like it's not going to drop anytime soon. This means that everyone likes my video, yes. A certain someone asked a shameless and rhetorical question. The number of followers has already increased by 100. If I don't make use of this opportunity to advertise the haunted house, then I'll feel I've disappointed all of my new fans and followers. Chen Ji edited the title of the video and attached the address of the haunted house at the user info section. He even added in brackets, a completely not scary haunted house. Chen Ji was satisfied with his updated user page. He remained seated under the window to look through the stream of messages and eventually fell asleep. Chen Ji was woken up by the sunlight that fell on his face. He stretched his tired body and stood up from the corner of the toilet. It's 8:30 am already. He dusted his clothes and pocketed both the doll and the phone before leaving the toilet. He noticed there were obvious scratch marks on the edges of the wooden toilet door, like it had been munched on by rodents. Just what was the thing outside the door last night? Looking at this, Chen Ji suddenly felt thankful he did not move from the mirror last night and go out to take a look. Nightmare missions might cause unexpected circumstances. I need to be more careful in the future. Since there was not any discernible change to the haunted house, Chen Ji shrugged it off and prepared to welcome a new day. The new Century Park opened at 9 a.m. At 8:45 am, a slender and light figure that was disproportionate to her chest size ran toward him carrying a backpack. Boss. The girl radiated an aura of youthfulness. Her exquisite features practically glowed in the sun. Her skin was taut and supple like fresh apricot that one could not help but wish to take a bite of. Xiao Wan, your timing is perfect. I've just added a new background track to our song database. Listen to it and tell me what you think. Before Chen Ji could finish his sentence, Xu Wan gripped his hand tightly. On reflex, he asked, "What are you doing?" I just saw a big crowd gathered at the entrance of the park. They're discussing the haunted house. We have people coming here just to experience the haunted house. Xu Wan exclaimed excitedly. Boss, we seem to have plenty of customers waiting. Shouldn't that be expected? Is this your first time at the park? Chen Ji pretended to be unaffected. He pulled out his phone to look at the video sharing app. His current number of followers had broken through 500, and the popularity of his video had reached the top 10 of the app. He scanned through the comments, and unlike other comment sections which were filled with XOXO or emoji, his was filled with endless reprimands, rebukes, and threats. Some of them even said that they had prepared the knife to slay Chen Ji and that they were on the way to his address. This seems to have gotten slightly out of hand. Chen Ji coughed awkwardly before dragging Xu Wan with him into the haunted house. We have 15 more minutes to the official opening time of the park. Since we're the only two left protecting this haunted house, be prepared for the imminent war. Chen Ji's haunted house currently only had two available scenarios, Night of the Living Dead and Mengun. The Night of the Living Dead was heavily criticized by the Black Phone. Chen Ji thought about it as objectively as he could, and he had to admit there were many flaws with that scenario. Furthermore, to complete the scenario, he had to have at least 3 workers. Xiao Wan, our main theme today will be Ming'an. Later, after I'm done setting up the background music, remember to put on your earphones when you work. Also, I'll be doing your makeup today. Boss, you know how to do makeup. Xiao Wan laughed half mockingly at him. Fine, but I'll do it myself if you screw it up. Don't worry, I'll make you look so beautiful that you'll take their breath away. They walked into the makeup room. Chen Ji set Xiao Wan down before the mirror and used the ball of his palm to slowly massage her face. Activating elementary skill, Mortician's Makeup. Looking at the youthful girl in the mirror, many memories that Chen Ji felt did not belong to him suddenly appeared in his mind. It was a chaotic mess. There was not only knowledge about color matching and other makeup skills but also human anatomy, physiology, bone structure, and the study of death. Boss, are you sure you know how to do makeup? 30 seconds had passed. Xu Wan sat before the mirror, feeling the unfamiliar temperature of the hand on her face. Looking at the reflection of her face, which her boss was fussing over, her heart started to race, and she felt weirdly shy for some reason. A good makeup artist will come up with different styles according to the face shape of his client. And Xiao Wan, I have to say, you have a pretty good base already. There were literally no dirty thoughts on Chen Ji's mind. After he activated the mortician's makeup skill, Xu Wan had already become a corpse in his mind. Hammer, shaver, scalpel, needle and thread, formaldehyde, alcohol, I am missing all these things. Looks like I'll have to settle with the most basic makeup, Chen Ji mumbled to himself, scaring Xu Wan quite a bit. The girl could not understand why her boss would require so many scary instruments for a simple haunted house makeup. She was feeling slightly spooked, but since she did not feel like it was appropriate to say no to her boss, all she could was glance at the progress through her half-shut eyes and pray for the best possible outcome. The foundation is too bland, and the blush too bright. Also, where's the lipstick? Chen Ji continued to grumble, and he even started to blend colors. The familiarity and expertise of his movements did not match his appearance of a geek who should not have known any of these things. Xu Wan herself was baffled by what was happening before her. Color matching without the aid of online guides or books, this is some high-level makeup skill. Boss, I don't think you should be so hard on yourself. After all, the lighting in the haunted house is so dim, the visitors wouldn't be able to see anything. Shush. And stop moving, Chen Ji cut her off and helped her apply the eyeshadow that he had just blended. It was just several strokes of eyeshadow, but it contributed a drastic change to Xu Wan's personality. It added an air of mystery and frostiness to her. Xu Wan's natural instinct was to mock her boss, but when she saw her reflection in the mirror, her tiny mouth fell open. A blush of just cherry red will be too simple, lacks layering, but when combined with some of this purple, it'll be so different. They blend perfectly like they're meant for each other, Chen Ji explained like a makeup guru as he used the brush to blend the 2 blushes on the back of his palm. Boss, what are you doing? Our haunted house's blush is too gaudy in the hopes of creating a striking visual effect, but that's pushing it a bit too far, so I'm toning it down by first applying and spreading it on my hand. Chen Ji's action was gentle, and minutes later, the blush did become smoother to the eyes, and there was even a brightening effect to it. Now, Xu Wan's mouth formed a perfect "Oh boss, you're amazing? Where did you learn all this?" There's plenty more of my talent you haven't seen yet. Makeup and beauty tricks are just things I explore in my free time, Chen Ji explained with a smile. He was in quite a great mood because he now had actual proof that the phone app really could affect the real world. In just 10 minutes, Chen Ji finished Xu Wan's makeup. Now, take a look, what do you think? The person in the mirror seemed to have walked out of a water painting. She was a quintessential Eastern beauty, but there was simply something off about her. Xu Wan could not help but stand up and twirl in front of the mirror. Her expression changed from utter shock to fascination before ending with a shudder. Boss, I've never looked so beautiful in my life. Is this person really me? Of course, it is. But, she reached out hesitantly toward the mirror. How come it feels like I'm looking at a dead person? Xu Wan's observation also made Chen Ji suck in a cold breath. The purpose of a mortician's makeup was bringing out the beauty of the dead, so naturally Chen Ji's makeup was not meant for the living. Don't worry about it, the amusement park is opening soon, so quickly go change into your clothes and stand by at the second floor Ming'an scenario. Remember to put on your Bluetooth earpiece and listen to my direction. Chen Ji tactfully moved the topic away and shoved Xu Wan off to her work. He used the little remaining time he had left to work on the puppets and mannequins in the Ming'an scenario set piece. With the aid of mortician's makeup, all of the mannequins looked creepily alive. I suppose that's all for now, I'll recolor them when I have time. Chen Ji packed up his toolbox and rushed downstairs. Before he reached the entrance, he could already hear the chatter of the visitors. You're also here to seek revenge from the immoral bastard. Yes. The creep caused me to drop my phone, and it broke, so what do you think? You people are still lucky. My pants were already on the ground when this thing popped up. I was so scared, the scream left my throat before I could help it. Thinking something happened to me, my parents rushed into my room. So, with not a shred of fabric on me and a roll of toilet paper in my hand, you can imagine how awkward it was. Listening to the visitors' complaints, Chen Ji tried to stop himself from laughing. He took a deep breath and put on a serious countenance before pushing the entrance open. Welcome to my humble horror house. Chen Ji's lips curled upward when he saw the long line of customers. Xiao Chen, your place is already packed so early in the morning. Not bad. The worker who was fixing the carousel gasped with surprise. As he was about to wander over to greet Chen Ji, he realized how curious these visitors were looking. They did not look like the normal happy park-goers. It's okay, I'm just glad for the support. Chen Ji shrugged as he pulled the gate open. Who said we're here to support you? Shameless. We're here to resolve debts, not to play. Is he the real deal? You're the one who uploaded video last night. Where's my knife? Hand me my knife. The visitors were so passionate that it was total chaos, but Chen Ji spoke over them. Since you're already here, why don't you come in for an experience? The best way to counter fear is to find a more intense stimulation, fight poison with poison so to speak, to desensitize yourself to the fear. Indeed, it is my fault for not giving more warning for yesterday's video, and for that, I apologize, so how about this? All the tickets into the haunted house will be 50% off today. Don't miss out on such a wonderful discount. Fight poison with poison. Do you think we're that easily fooled? Bro, just give me some money to fix my phone display and I'll leave. You think you can make this go away with a discounted ticket? No way. After several minutes of arguing, there were still no visitors who showed any intention of entering the haunted house. They stayed firmly outside the gate as if the entrance was a line of minefields. They were so terrified that even Chen Ji could not help but sigh. No one dares to come in just to give it a try. My haunted house is not even scary. If you don't believe me, feel free to check the online reviews. As he said so, some in the crowd really did do that. Indeed, all the reviews say the place is not scary. The only good thing about it is apparently they hire a pretty lady to play the ghost. Then, shall we give it a try? Yet another long wait later, finally someone stepped forward. Bunch of cowards, this is just a haunted house, how scary can it be? I've seen plenty of human carcasses, do you think I'll be afraid of this? The person who stepped forth was a bushy-browed young man with a crew cut. He looked rather unassuming. Bro, stop joking with us. Even bluffing has a limit to it. Just how old are you? Yet you want us to believe you've seen real human carcasses. We're all scaredy cats here, so why are you lying to us? Just as the voices of derision gathered, a rather soft but firm voice cut through the cacophony. He's not lying. Facing human carcasses is indeed a daily business for people like us. The crowd turned toward the voice, and they saw a tall, slender woman in a sun hat and a white dress walking over from the park entrance. Her facial expression was cold, and it was as if she carried a personal air conditioner with her because the temperature around her felt rather low. Senior. The young man bounced like a rabbit toward the woman, attempting to help her with her bag, but he was deterred by a wintry glare from the woman. He stood where he was, all flustered with an awkward yet polite smile on his face. Wait, did you just call her senior? You two are still students. Chenji's attention was also drawn to these two young people. We're forensic science students from Jiuzhang Medical University. My name is He-san, and this is my senior, Gao Rushui. The young man smiled at Chen Ji. The video you uploaded last night has been shared on our school's forum, and my senior decided to pay this place a visit after watching it. That unapproachable beauty is a forensic doctor. Although her presence does match her profession nicely. Miss, how about we be friends? The male visitor started to crowd around the woman. Acting as her guardian, He-san merely smiled and said, I don't think you all understand what you're getting into. The other morning, my senior cut open some toads or rats, but right after washing her hands, she happily sauntered over to the canteen to have braised meat completely unaffected. When she passed the lab late last night and saw the body soaked in formaldehyde, she yawned and greeted them nicely. Listen to my advice and measure yourself. The number of men she has operated on is probably higher than the number of girls any one of you have held the hand of. This unique introduction had achieved the result he wanted. Instantly, a 2-meter radius emptied around the woman. Chen Ji also felt a mounting headache upon hearing the young man's introduction. It was not easy for him to finally finish the nightmare mission and receive the reward, but the first challenger his updated haunted house received was a pair of forensic science students. Since their degree was in forensic science, naturally, they would have a fear threshold higher than most. "Can we go in now?" The woman strode impatiently to stand before Chen Ji. She was already tall, but in her heels, she was practically on the same level as Chen Ji. "The original ticket price is 20, so with the 50% discount, it'll be 10. Before we go in, I would like to provide the haunted house's background and a warning." Chen Ji remembered the tips provided by the black phone. One of the 3 important features of a haunted house was its plot and background. It would help the visitors get into the mood. First, an introduction. Even though many online reviews say my haunted house is not scary, as a responsible proprietor, I wish to divulge to both of you some facts. The ground we're on was the largest mass grave in Jiujiang City 50 years ago. 30 years ago, due to city planning, they flattened the graves and built the Jiujiang City Hospital on the site. What happened next you can easily find out on the internet. The hospital was forced to close down due to the frequent occurrence of many incidents that could not be explained, and my haunted house is a remodeled hospital building that was behind. It still hides many secrets that concern the ill-fated hospital. After that, Chen Ji pointed at the warning sign beside the main entrance. No entry to visitors with a heart condition or vascular disease. Visitors above 12 and below 16 have to be accompanied at all times by their parents or guardians. If there are no questions, please follow me. Chen Ji pulled open the black heavy drapes, closed the rusted gate, and led He-san as well as Gao Rushui down the dark corridor. Since they cannot share the same room in life, they'll share the same grave in death. This is a local urban legend that has been passed down for many generations. Peng Jingyao wished to set up a Ming'an for her son who unfortunately passed away too soon. Therefore, she invited a fortune teller to take a look at her son's life and fortune map before finally pinpointing a girl as the perfect candidate to accompany his son in death. However, the girl already had someone else in her heart. To make her submit, Peng Jingyao killed her lover by shoving him into a lake and threatened the girl's parents' lives. Finally, to protect her parents, the girl agreed to marry a dead man. Red and white candles stood side by side, a wedding coupled with a death. After the girl was sealed in the coffin and buried alive, many weird things started to happen to the Peng household. The statues of bronze chicks started to bleed, and the paper dolls burned for the dead were found blinking. And every midnight, a woman could be seen wandering the halls. The scenario that you'll be experiencing this time is called Ming'an. The set is completely open, you can go anywhere you wish, but you need to locate the correct exit in less than 15 minutes. If you wish to surrender, stand under any of the available cameras and scream for help. I'll fetch you. Chen Ji stopped at the second-floor entrance and bowed. Enjoy. That sounds interesting, but if you think that's enough to scare me, you're sorely mistaken, He-san rambled shamelessly while he hid behind his senior. His lips said he was not afraid, but his feet seemed screw-shut to the ground, unwilling to move. In comparison, Gao Rushui was more collected. She entered the scenario wordlessly. "Senior, wait for me." After the 2 visitors entered, Chen Ji locked the front door entrance and called Shu Wan. "Xiao Wan, our guests have entered, be prepared. Also remember to put your earpieces in." After giving all the necessary orders, Chen Ji returned to the main control room. This small room was where he could see the different cameras and where he could control all of the setups. "I really didn't think I will be using this music so soon since it does sound a bit dark, but since they're not normal visitors, I have no choice." Chen Ji turned on the audio system and put the Black Friday music on repeat. With everything in place, he sat before the monitor watching He-san and Gao Rushui closely. If anything weird happened to them, he would rush in to save them immediately. "Xiao-san, this is a perfect opportunity for you to brush up on your traditional Chinese architecture knowledge. This is an almost perfect reconstruction of a traditional Saiyuan one. There are 3 layers of entrance: Daozua Wutu, the main house, the ear houses 3, Chaoshu Corridor 4, Chui Huamen 5, east and west houses, the back house, Rui Door 6, and so on. I'm impressed by the attention to detail, it really does feel like you've traveled back in time." Gao Rushui walked through the set pieces, stopping occasionally to study the details. "Senior, we're inside a haunted house, not on a study trip, do you mind?" Their footsteps echoed through the empty courtyard in which paper money was fluttering. It was as if He-san was in a different dimension compared to Gao Rushui. He turned back every few seconds, afraid that something might jump out at him from the dark corners. "We'd better find the exit as soon as possible, this place makes me jumpy." Since we're already here, of course, we have to savor the experience. Remember, we're customers, don't let the haunted house toy with you. But don't you remember the boss warned that we have to find the exit in less than 15 minutes? Based on the evil look of that guy, I'm sure he has something scary planned if we are unable to escape in 15 minutes. He-san tried to urge Gao Rushui, but the latter was not at all affected. There are only so many tactics that a haunted house can employ. At worst, they'll have the workers dress up as ghosts to chase us around. Xiao-san, you deal with dead bodies every day, don't tell me that you've suddenly decided to be afraid of ghosts. As Gao Rushui wandered down the hugging corridor, she pushed open the door to the left ear house. The set piece of Ming'an was typical of an old Beijing saiyuan. The main house was the living building for the elderlies and the head of the house. The east and west houses were for the sons and daughters, while the ear houses were for the servants and maids. As the door was pushed open, the tables and chairs in the room tumbled over. The pillows on the bed were shredded, causing cotton fluff to float up into the air. A white hanging cloth swayed right in the middle of room. Senior, I'll guard the door, be careful inside. Before He-san could finish, he was dragged into the room by Gao Rushui. His body froze and his face blanched watching the white cloth sway in the windless room. Interesting, the cloth is at least 1.5 meters off the ground. This height is not enough to cause strangulation from hanging? The tumbled chairs and tables, as well as the signs of struggle on the floor, the haunted house is trying to create the illusion that this was a forced suicide. But the ear houses were meant for the maids. This means that the specter refused to spare even those who are unrelated to her death. She's hell-bent on torturing those in this house to their death. Behind Gao Ruxiu's clear analysis, there was a hint of excitement. The design of this haunted house is quite impressive, there might still be other hidden secrets that we haven't discovered yet. She walked around the room and yanked off the faded bed cover. Lying underneath it was a paper doll. A paper doll lying in a living person's bed. Gao Rushui tossed the doll to the side and bent down to flip the mattress over. There was nothing underneath. The greater the anticipation, the greater the disappointment. Looks like I've overestimated this haunted house. Let's go. The exit is not in this room. She shrugged before walking out. He-san, who had been left alone in the living room, had his teeth chattering. Perhaps it was the angle, but he swore he saw the paper doll, which was lying on the floor, wink at him. The statues of bronze chicks started to bleed, and the paper dolls burned for the dead were found blinking. Senior, wait for me. As the door to the ear house closed, the white cloth in the room stopped swaying. Can you be a little quieter? Why are you screaming left and right? Stop acting like such a little girl, man up. Gao Rushui rolled her eyes at He-san as she waited for him to catch up. I'm not scared, but this place seriously makes me feel uncomfortable, and the longer we stay here, the stronger that feeling becomes. Don't you feel like something is amplifying our deepest fear? He-san's words hit the nail on the head. Gao Rushui thought about it, and she also realized that something was off. The most important quality of a forensic doctor was the ability to stay calm no matter the situation, but when she was scolding He-san earlier, her composure was shattered. This hadn't happened to her before. Could it be that I too am feeling afraid? But why should I be afraid? Everything here is obviously fake. A crack started to form on Gao Ruxiu's internal defense. Neither of them could figure out the source of their fear. With the combined effect of suspicion and psychological terror, the seed of fear had started to grow in their hearts. Say, do you think there is really something or someone inhabiting this place? After all, the boss did say this place is built on top of a mass grave and is a remodeled abandoned hospital. Shush. Our university's morgue is even scarier than this. You're a forensic doctor, how is it that you're so easily scared? Even though Gao Rushui said that she was not afraid, it was noticeable that the speed of her speech had increased. She looked around her. The old house, the morning hall, dead trees, the paper money, they were all set pieces, they weren't scary. So, what is it that I'm afraid of? The two were so distracted by their environment that they did not notice the background music that was on repeat. This band song called Black Friday had slowly but surely snuck its way into their hearts, evoking their sense of fear. Xiao-san, how long have we been in here already? I have no idea, but I have a feeling we won't be able to escape in 15 minutes. Don't fret, give me some time to think about this, Gao Rushui said as she wandered down the corridor. This haunted house is not that scary, it's because the boss has been giving us negative psychological suggestions. Ever since we entered the haunted house, he has been stressing points like mass grave, live burial, ghosts, and stuff. That is a classic method to weaken our hearts. However, the most cunning part of this man is, even though he has set up a time limit, he did not say what will happen if we fail. This creates a natural pressure on ourselves, causing our minds to fill in the blank with the scariest speculation. Then, what do you think we should do now? This haunted house feels a bit different from others. Hisan was an honest boy, he would do what his senior asked him to do. You're not wrong there, a normal haunted house hires actors to dress up as ghosts or uses plenty of setups to paint gory scenes to scare us, but this haunted house doesn't do that. He has prepared the set beforehand and allows us to wander about it freely. Without guidance and a set plot, there's no telling what will happen. I understand what you mean, the scariest is the unknown. Hisan nodded. That explanation is as good as any. Gao Rushui frowned imperceptibly. Come on, let's move on to the next room. The ear house was attached to the main house. After pushing open the wooden door, it revealed a room filled with mourning outfits and a painted coffin sitting right in the middle of the room. The red coffin had a big character, cut out from white paper pasted in the middle of it. Standing in 2 neat rows beside it were plenty of paper mannequins. Each of them had a name written on their back, and they all wore thin makeup on their faces. Their eyes seemed to glow as the door was pushed open, and they appeared to be quietly staring at the 2 figures standing at the door. Like and subscribe.